Your voice, your heart, your opportunity. Welcome to tonight's show.
Well, we're back here in the studio and we're live in people's homes, and we're live in your home tonight, either listening to the radio or on the Facebook. It's so good to see you, and it's a fantastic night here in Melbourne. And Julio and Kelly, great to see you both tonight. Julio, how are you going?
I'm going really good, Mark, and great to see everybody on tonight.
Fantastic. And Kelly, you looking well?
Yeah, I am enjoying these newfound lockdown restrictions here in Melbourne and this beautiful weather tonight.
Yeah, it's a fantastic night. What better night to have Cal Bruton with us tonight? And gee, Cal, really good to see you, mate. And yeah, it's just great to have you on the show.
Thank you, Mark. It was a pleasant surprise when I received the call and said that it's a great opportunity to be on the Community Heart Radio. So I couldn't wait and to sort of jump to the opportunity. So yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Oh, it's fantastic, mate. We're looking forward to getting to know you and hearing a bit about your story. But just maybe introduce yourself, where you're living, and just tell us a bit about yourself.
I'm currently living in Canberra. I've been here for 21 years now. I have a family of six kids, I should say. I have my oldest is 50, Elliot, and CJ, which is Cal Jr. He's 45, and Austin is 40. And then I have a daughter, Shakira, 22. Brooklyn is the one of two at home. He's 17, and my youngest is Dante. He's 15, and my partner Julia, and of course I have 5 grandkids that I'm very, very proud of. And yeah, life is busy. I'm involved with a few different organizations, but I run my own Bruton basketball clinics around the country, and I'm currently launching my Bruton Basketball Foundation to look after disadvantaged kids. I've had the opportunity to travel to every state and territory in Australia, delivering basketball clinics and workshops. And I work with AFL Sports Ready part-time as a master coach, which is looking after young Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander kids, as well as the youth around the country, and creating education and employment opportunities for them. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell. I try to keep myself busy.
Hey, well, let's just go back, Carl, because you started playing basketball in the States, and mate, you became quite a famous player over there. Just tell us a bit about your basketball history that started off your career.
Well, I started playing high school basketball. It was my first point of call. I lost my dad when I was young. I was 7 years of age, and my mom wanted to keep me out of trouble. So she thought basketball would be a great sport because all it took was a basketball, a hoop, and I can keep myself amused. And so I had one up in the backyard, and then I eventually worked my way into the parks, playing out in what they call a courtsman at a local park in my neighborhood, which is Montebello Park, and it's called Bello for short, but that's where I learned how to really harness my skills. I made my high school team in Queens, New York, Springfield Gardens High School, made the all-city team, and then I had an opportunity to get a scholarship to Wichita State University. There, I went on to represent the United States in South Australia and Brazil. I'm sorry, South Australia, in South America and Brazil. And my senior year, I went and trial with 2 professional teams. One, the San Antonio Spurs, came pretty close to making it. Was one of the last cuts. You hear that all the time, but I was definitely one of those. I missed out. I went back and trialed again with the Kansas City Kings. Missed out again. During this time, I had 2 young children at home, so I couldn't have been more displeased at not being able to live my passion. So I went back to university to complete my degree. I took a job hauling trash. I was a garbologist, I called myself, picking up trash. Back in those days, you had to get out of the truck and go get the trash. And dump it in the back of the packer and go across the street, do the same, and then move the truck up and do it all again. 250 stops a day. And out of the clear blue in the wintertime, when things got tough, I received a call from a gentleman named Dr. David Atkins, who offered me an opportunity to come play in Australia. I didn't even know where Australia was at. I said, didn't know. I've never traveled there, so I didn't realize exactly where it was at. And he offered me a deal to come play in the first year of the National Basketball League, and that was in 1979. And so I accepted that deal, and I within a couple of days I had to pack up and leave home, and leave the family, and I landed in Brisbane after leaving minus 37-degree weather with a full fur coat and a collar and a hood and a Sherlock Holmes hat and boots and gloves and you name it. And I landed on the tarmac in Brisbane in February. and that was a real wake-up call. So my life changed up from that point on. And everything took its course from there. I played the first year for the Brisbane Bullets, and I top scored the competition. And then I had an opportunity to move clubs because they offered me a chance to bring my family out. And that's where I brought them out, became an Australian citizen, and here I am.
Wow. Fantastic. That's a great story of achievement. What do you put it down to, how you achieved all that? What was the success factor for you?
Well, I guess, Mark, when I think back to, I was like losing my dad, and my mom really struggled. I got two younger sisters, one that's intellectually handicapped, and she's albino. We went to school together. We grew up in the 60s where it was a lot of racial divide. I had to use sport as a vehicle for me to get out of what they call the ghetto. And I was driven to be a sportsman. I felt that was my dad encouraged me to play baseball before he passed. I was playing a lot of baseball. I actually got drafted by the New York Mets, professional basketball team, but my mom wouldn't let me accept the contract because she wanted me to be the first in our family to go to university. And once I accomplished being a good baseball player, I wanted to play another sport. So I played gridiron football because I had a mentor named Mr. Richard Bethel, and he was my football coach. So he taught me a lot about the game, and I became a most valuable player in the football league. But basketball was a sport I played all year round. And because I was short, and I always use the term, I was short, black, and bald. So I didn't have a whole lot going for me. But I actually had an afro back then. but I used basketball as a chance to challenge myself against all the better players. And, I didn't get much run when I was young. I had to get better at my skill set. So So
what do you think was your main motivator, Cal? Like, it sounds like you're so driven, so ambitious. What do you think really and I can definitely reflect there where you've come from that, that background. What was your key driver behind going, here you're talking about 3 different sports and you're like, right, basketball, this is it. This is what I'm going to do.
I wanted to look after my mom and my sisters. I wanted to pay for our home that we lived in because we struggled since my dad passed away. So I was driven to be a professional basketball player or baseball player. But when mom knocked me back from being a baseball player, basketball became the focus. So I call it packing my swag. I like acronyms. I pack my swag in my bag. That means the S stood for I worked on my skill set. I used to live in this park and work on my ball handling, my shooting. When I played the game, I played with a style that was fast, and so I could put people on their heels. And then I had a work ethic. I wouldn't let anyone outwork me, and being small, you have to, if you want to be seen in the Valley of the Giants. And then I had an attitude.
Any basketballers who really, that you remember going, right, this is where I'm going to have to keep up those ball skills, and who you really looked upon to?
Well, there was a lot of people look up to in the basketball world. There was a player by the name of Nate Tiny Archibald, who was a professional player, and he was the only player, I think, in the competition to ever lead the league in scoring and assists. So that means he looked after other players on the court by setting them up for easy baskets. So I idolized him. There was a namesake of mine named Calvin Murphy, who was a dead-eye shooter, could shoot it from anywhere. and he shot 90-something% for a career from the free throw line. I took pride in that too, and those guys gave me the belief that if they made it, I can make it too. So I really worked at it. But unfortunately, I didn't make it over there. But when I came to Australia, it was a different story. I can put all those skill sets on the line. My attitude was my altitude. I wanted to be the best player I can be, but I also wanted to be the best in the country. And that kind of drove me. And I think from day one, I wanted to be successful. And, it never was about money. I never played the game for money, or else I think I'll be very, very rich right now. But I'm rich in spirit because I've been able to help so many others attain great fortune by playing the game and me teaching them the skills now to be the best they can be.
So, Julio, I suppose you can relate to Cal in the hairstyle, but what else can you relate to him about, mate? Hang on, he's on mute there. You're on mute there, buddy.
Sorry, my fault. No, me. I'm on mute. So basically, the only thing I can relate to is I'm a traditional rugby player. Probably you can half tell, and but then after that, my son got it, and my daughter wanted to get into basketball, so I had to learn the sport of basketball in a very short period of time since the coach left, and I ended up being the coach for 3 years in basketball. So that's the only thing I can relate with that. I could understand one question I do have for you is basically because of you're saying that you're shorter than the other players that you're usually in basketball, and you had to train harder in your sport. What was the biggest hurdle that you first had to deal with, apart from the height thing? What do you think was the first hurdle?
I suppose being accepted. Again, when you're small and you're trying to be seen, as I mentioned, the Valley of the Giants, you have to find ways to get yourself to that plateau. And what I did was use the key factor I believe, and my mom kind of shared with me, is if you put sunshine in other people's lives, you cannot keep it from yourself. So what I try to do is make other players around me much better by creating opportunities for them to score and look good. And I'm always a help defender because I was really quick. So if my teammate was having trouble guarding a person, I would lean that way and try to help out and get back and get steals and then set my teammate up. And then most players would want to play with you then. They would have your back. So that's the way I played the game, and that's what helped me, I guess, win championships and be successful in that end.
Yeah.
What was your most memorable moment of your basketball career, Cal?
Wow. I suppose there's a few of them, but one was definitely getting on the NBA court with my idols. I played against Calvin Murphy. I was gobsmacked. I had to guard him, in Houston, and I had a San Antonio Spurs jersey on, which everyone knows, Patty Mills. Well, I was the original Spur that played from Australia, and when I guarded him, I was really out to show him because he's a Hall of Famer, one of the 50 greatest players in the world. And so I jumped on all over him, thinking I can outquick him because he's a little older now, and I can make him turn. And he's a strong right-handed dribbler. But little did I know, the way I thought about the game, so did his teammates. They saw me really hounding him. So one of the bigger players came up, named Rudy Tomjanovich. He's a Hall of Famer as well. He came up and set a pick on me, and a pick is when they come block you. He rung my bell and almost knocked me out. and from that point on, I was always looking around to see where the big guys were, because I didn't want to run into them no more. But that kind of was a very memorable moment, being on the court with him, and then playing against Pete Maravich and Gail Goodrich in the Superdome, which is 60,000 people. And I had an opportunity to play in a crowd like that, and I did really well. I thought I was going to make that team. I was really, really close, according to the pros that gave me the feedback. One is George Gervin. They call him the Iceman. He was a tremendous player. And he told me, little fella, you keep going. You're going to make it. Don't worry about it. This is just a temporary setback. But I never did get back there. But again, coming to Australia, I've been able to use that sort of setback to make my comeback, and I led the league in scoring. I became a championship player, championship coach, Hall of Famer, and that's kind of put me on a pedestal where very few players have had opportunity to achieve the same. And I have a young son. I have a son, CJ, who's smashed everything I've done and taken it to another level. And he's represented Australia in 2 Olympic Games and 2 World Championships. And I've also represented Australia. So between us, we won 8 NBL titles. But he's got 6, I got 2. but I'm happy to combine that.
That's a great achievement. Don't forget, you're on 98.9 Northwest FM. It's Community Heart Radio. And if you've got a question you want to ask Cal tonight, just put your comments in the comment section. We'd love to hear from you. Any comments, any questions? Love to get your feedback tonight on Community Heart Radio. Cal, gee, it's an incredible career you've had, mate, and just amazing. It must be so proud looking back, and now your son, and you've got all these kids, mate, and yeah, it's really good. So how do you sort of reflect on that part of your life?
Well, my kids are my proudest achievements, of course. When you have your first child, you just get over the moon and you feel responsible. I was still chasing a career, so I didn't spend a lot of time with him in my early years. But once we moved to Australia, that was a time where I had the chance to take him around with me and everything. I think sport is a great teacher. It gives you all the attributes you need to succeed in life. And I think, learning how to win and lose and be a good person, be a good teammate, be a good family member. I think you learn all those things by playing sport. And I try to, with my kids, I share all those stories with them. Sitting around our table is very, very, very crazy. Like my son said, "Oh, here we go." My youngest son, "We'll get another one of those Cal Bruton lectures." So we have fun. Every 2 years, I get all my family together. It's 18 of us now, and we come together to bring all our tool set, so to speak, and we run a basketball clinic for a different part of the country, and we get a chance to have a holiday together with the grands and kids and the wives and girlfriends, and that to me is what it's all about at the end of the day. And I'm really a strong advocate for family and culture, and I got the 4-letter words that I use as like a Bible. It's you got to care. So when you're caring, that means you're gonna give. And I try to give up myself to the community at heart. I like that. I timed that in there very nicely. But the community is very, very important to me. I do a lot of coaching in my local community with the local clubs, Genera Rats, and involved with clinics with all the kids here. I also feel that you got to work. And when you work, you can also enjoy the fruits of your labor. So by putting those efforts in, you can make it happen. And although I don't go to church, like it was different for me in church here than in the U.S. because in the U.S. I'm going to a predominantly Black church, where we get up and hallelujah and you dance and sing. Here I haven't really felt that same. So I remember taking my mom to church to a Yugoslavian church back in Brisbane, and she was like, "This is perfect." But I didn't understand a word they were saying. I was like, "You stay, Mom. I'll be back." But because I don't go to churches often, I pray. And I've always done that. Yes, Kelly.
So tell us, Cal, take us back to when you first moved over here. Big move, coming from the States to Australia. You get offered an NBA contract. And what did you notice those differences? I know for myself, even coming from New Zealand, I talk to friends and like to Mark and Julio, what I've noticed differences between even New Zealand and Australia, and having worked and lived in the States with myself. What did you notice back then? And do you still see those differences, and particularly in the basketball sector as well? And when you came?
Well, when I came, I guess the first thing I noticed was not seeing many Black people. I come from a predominantly Black area, and Black Americans everywhere, in the stores, in the shops, in the facilities, and then I came here and I didn't see any, and I was kind of shocked, and also what really opened my eyes was the facilities. Back then we played in tin sheds, and had a barbecue going on court 2, blowing smoke on the court 1 where you played.
Wow.
And I come from, as I mentioned, the New Orleans Superdome and 60,000 people. Well,
Yeah.
if you got 800 people into this facility comfortably, that was a huge crowd. Right?
Yeah.
So that was a wake up call. And of course, as I mentioned, I'm a really pro Black American guy. I try to connect with my brothers, and it was only one brother, I call a brother from another mother, as we say. He was based in San Francisco, but he was here a few months before myself, and his name was Herb McKeechin. And I played against him in the very first game. But my teammates, as they normally do, they try to take the mickey out of you. They told me that they had an Aboriginal player on their team. And you'll meet him, and we got to exchange gifts. And you need to talk slow to him because he'll be looking in your mouth to read your lips and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And I thought they was playing me, but again, I didn't know. I only met my teammates in the locker room before the game. So when we lined up, and I'm seeing Herb McKeechin, and they give us a little flag from Brisbane. You got to go shake hands and hand him the flag, and he gives you a little gift in return. I shook his hand. I said, here's the gift. I said, my name is Cal. Meanwhile, he's looking at me all crazy like he's San Francisco. He said, man, I'm Herb, San Francisco. What's up with you, bro? And then I look at my teammates and they're just cracking up, So that's when I learned about the Aussie humor straight away. So,
Nice.
but no, I wasn't, that was the biggest difference because I played at an era where there was only 2 Black guys in the competition, and we both were the top players in the comp. His team went on to play off in the championship. I just became the leading scorer in the comp, so I was invited down to watch the final, and still nobody of color in the stands. So I felt different, and I was really keen to go home. I just, at that point, it was the end of the season. But Geelong had offered me a deal to not only bring my family out, and they weren't in the competition, but they told me that if I can bring 2 of my mates that can play, I can bring them along too. So that
Wow, that's
opened my
incredible.
eyes. Yeah. Oh, Geelong was a very special place. That launched my career, gave me every incentive to become an Australian citizen. I think I was the first Black American to represent Australia and become an Australian citizen. And I went and played against the U.S., my first team. So they thought I was Aboriginal, and I was trying to wake them up. Tell them, yeah, there's a few of us out here now.
Well, it all sounds fantastic, mate. Give us a bit of an overview of what's happened since the basketball days again. Because I know your heart is to give back to the community. You've been involved in a lot of community work, Cal. Just give us an overview again of what sort of things you've been doing since the basketball. I know you're still doing a bit of basketball as well with the clinics and that.
Yes, well, again, my pride and joy is the work I do with the AFL Sports Ready. I get a chance to knock on host employees' doors, some of these larger corporations, government agencies, community programs, and try to get support to offer these young kids employment opportunities. And in doing so, we bring in educators, we bring in mentors, and give these kids a chance to create their own pathway into full-time work or arts. And this is where I get the biggest payback. I can see these kids succeed, and they all stay in touch, and they go on to have great careers and make more money than I made, which is always exciting. I also, as I mentioned, the basketball programs, but I do a lot of work in the schools. So I go into a school, a primary school even, and work with young kids who have behavior difficulties and try to use basketball as a tool of engagement to get them to understand what teamwork is. And you can see there attitudes change, and according to the teachers and the feedback I get, we actually feed these kids before, because we think that most of them don't have proper meals, so we feed them before. Take them through their skill sessions, and then we actually sit them around the table and we ask them questions about life and the career, what they want to do when they grow up. And most of them don't know, but we have to chat about it. We show them some video footage of things that they can do, and then we feed them again, give them a proper full-time meal, and then we bus them home. And I've been doing these programs for the last, I started in 1988 going to the communities up in the Kimberley in Western Australia. And under Kerry Stokes, he gave me a platform to go and sell his West Track tractors, or not sell them, but deliver them. And whilst I was there, I would put on the clinic. And I've had a liking for sales, so I would hang around the guys that was making the sale, and boy, it was big money sales. And then I'll get all the kids around, and they'll get a chance to see the product and everything, which led me into selling cars. I actually sold luxury cars for 13 years as I was involved with, the sales side. And this will give me another attitude to get to host employers, because you're getting different people coming to you wanting to buy luxury cars. They got a lot of money normally if they're spending $100,000 on a car. And I work with Audi, Mercedes-Benz, Lexus, Volkswagen. So yeah, I understand the car game a little bit, but that's also gives me the opportunity to go out and help a kid like Patty Mills, and I used to go to him and coach his teams, and so many other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander guys who are, and girls who are now on their own pathways to doing great things. Obviously, you know what Patty's done, but there's a whole bunch of kids around the country. So my whole point is to stay in touch with these kids. Now that I have my foundation, they are now coming back in and supporting me, offering me opportunities to use their platform to extend these things. And again, I just try to collaborate with all people that are successful to see how we might be able to make someone else's life better.
So what's it been like for you, Cal, over these past 18 months? You're in Canberra, but have you still been able to go interstate? No, yeah.
Oh no, it's been tough. I really got shut down pretty much, and I lost. I hate to think of the total, but it's an awful lot of money not being able to get out and do my work. So that's another reason.
But now, are you seeing it the opposite, where it's really, really busy? Where community centres, parents, schools, churches, groups.
Well, that's starting up again. Yes, Kelly, that's starting up again. I mean, we only just got our lockdown last week. So I haven't really had the opportunity to go to the school yet. We have our first training session this Friday. So I'll get a chance to see the kids for the first time. And like I said, my two sons, they both play for my club. I get a chance to get them involved with it. And what we try to do, again, as a family, my son CJ is now the head coach at the Adelaide 36ers. And as a result of him getting that opportunity, it's kind of expanded us into moving around, because he's now, and I, have actually played in every single state and territory that they have a National Basketball League team. And over the 40 years plus that we've been here. So this is his first head coaching job. So I imagine that now when the borders opening up, hopefully we'll be able to travel and I'll be able to do more things. But yeah, it's been tough. My lovely one, she works at the Australian Research Council, and she's a executive there. And we do a lot of work around that and employing kids in her organization, so that, kids get a chance to experience, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander kids in particular, get a chance to experience working at a high level with the government agencies. So yeah, we just enjoy seeing people become successful out of what we can open those doors to.
Yeah. Cal, wouldn't mind starting to think about some of the things you want to tell young people. I might get Julio, we might even put him on the screen. We might, in the second half hour, we're coming up to the second half hour of the show, we might just sort of think about what are the themes that what's the messages you're trying to give young people out there. and Julio can type them up for you. But just before we do that, mate, just give us an insight in your work with Indigenous kids. What's going on for young Indigenous kids? What's your message to them, I suppose?
I suppose the main message I try to get to them, which is something that I use myself, is to pack your pride suitcase, wherever you go. And your pride, as you know, is something very important. Doesn't matter who I'm dealing with or who I'm talking to, pride always becomes a feature. And I use it as an acronym. The P, you have to persevere, because there's always going to be some challenges. And how you handle those challenges determines how far you go in life. You have to have respect, for yourself, but more importantly, for your family and the way you carry yourself. If you earn respect, if you give respect, you can earn respect. The I feel is you have to be an influencer, and in doing so, you have to make intelligent decisions. Everybody's gonna make mistakes. It's how you bounce back from those mistakes. You learn the lesson, you move on.
Like that one.
The D is 5 of them. They're very important to me. In order to achieve anything in life, you got to be dedicated. And I dedicated myself to the sport of basketball, and it's given me a great life. You got to be disciplined, because you're going to have different coaches and different philosophies around you, and you got to try to learn from each and every stage you go through. You got to be determined. If you're determined to succeed, you'll find a way. Sometimes you can't just run through the wall. You got to go around it. You got to go over it. You got to back up and think about how you're going to get over that wall. And I probably in my life, I've changed clubs, as I mentioned to you. I've been around, because sometimes those challenges, and they disable you, and you have to move on. And then next thing you know, you become a champion. You go, wow, was that a great move or what? And you get excited. Then next thing you know, you're moving again because of the same reason. And the desire. I've got a philosophy that I smile a lot, but you got to run, stun, and have some fun. That's my bottom line. If you're not having fun, then you got to find a way to create that desire to want to go.
That's great, those 5 Ds. That's great. You could use that in any context with youth, that's great, Cal.
So just give us those 5 again, Cal, just quickly, because I know Julio's writing them down for you. The first, just give us those 5 Ds again.
Okay, the Ds are dedication, discipline, determination.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Desire. It's got to be fun. The desire and the wish list. And the last D is the detail. So that's basically boils down to setting your goals. How you go about the checklist of those details to achieving those goals. And the E is probably the key thing, is that none of that's going to happen without the effort. All right? So I have a philosophy that you got to be mentally tough and put in the extra effort. So when being small, I used to run with a stopwatch in my hand at 6 o'clock in the morning, because I was going to be the fastest guy on the court. I was going to be able to run all day long. I want to see my opponent at the end of the game with his hands on his knees going, and while I'm standing up there smiling at him, like, you all right? You all right? My goal was never to leave the court without leaving everything on the court. And anybody that played with me or against me would verify that, because they knew that I was always going to be coming. They might hold me down 1 quarter, 2 quarters, 3 quarters, but I'm going to find a way to get on top. And I was a player coach most of my career, half of my career here. So I was playing and coaching at the same time, which is very unusual in Australian basketball. But, I probably had my most successful years in doing so. But I think once you pack your pride suitcase, you can take it anywhere, if you understand that,
Well, I think it's a great message, Cal, for young people. And if you're listening and you want to interact, just put a comment in the comments thing on Facebook. Cal would love to hear from you, and we're going to go through. Julio's going to take us through. Cal's really a great message to you and your friends. Julio, run us through, buddy.
There you go. Take your pride suitcase.
I like all those D's.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm gonna have to use
There
that
you
one,
go.
Julio. I'm gonna take that one.
There you go. So you got persevere, respect, influence, dedicate, discipline, determination, desire, detail, and of course, effort.
Yes,
There
that's
you
it.
go.
Yeah, thanks for that, Julio. That's just this fantastic messaging there. A lot of great things there, Cal, eh?
Oh yeah, I believe it wholeheartedly. And my boys, whenever we step on the court, we feel like we represent the family, and they represent themselves, of course, and they play with great pride. Always try to play the game the right way. And I think when you understand that, then teamwork makes the dream work, and you really focus on being a great teammate. I think not everybody can be a great player, but everybody can be a great teammate, and that means you're encouraging. I got a little sayings that the body is remarkably sensitive. If you pat someone on the back, their head could just swell up, right?
That's it.
So you give them that encouragement to keep going no matter what the odds are. And I've seen teams be down a tremendous amount of points, but able to turn it around because they believe in their teammates and they all work together as one, and they're able to overcome the challenges to become champions. And that's no greater feeling than being a
So
champion.
talk to us, Cal, about working as a family and with your sons. It sounds like you've had to, we use this word at the moment, pivot a lot when we're having to change directions, especially with this last 18 months, and to really, reassess and analyze where we're going. How have you managed to do that with your sons over the last couple of years, and what are you looking to do now moving forward?
Well, you're right about the word pivot. I've had to pivot on many occasions. Give you an example. I coached the Perth Wildcats back in 1987. When I arrived there, they never had a winning season. And I had the opportunity to bring in some recruits. And owner by the name of Bob Williams, who was a construction builder, didn't know a thing about basketball, but he loved the sport so much he bought the team and became the major sponsor. So he gave me this huge opportunity, and he asked me one question: do you think you can build a championship team for me? And I said, yes, I can do that. And he goes, okay, well, you're my guy. And he looked after me. So I went and brought 4 players out and for 5 new players. And we went straight to the championship game, and we lost. But we had so many wins along the way that it was just something that he was just so excited about. And once we won the championship, it was the first one ever in Western Australia, even before the West Coast Eagles and all. We were all walking PR machines. They couldn't say enough about us. But then the next year, I was also the general manager of the team as well. And once we won the championship, it was a bit of controversial with me coming back into the job because I replaced a coach that I actually put in the job. But the owners made a decision about that. They came back to me. They wouldn't re-up me in the contract. They told me that, no, we want you to move on and become the CEO. And I had just lost my mom at that point. And of course, I also going through a divorce. And I found it so hard that now I got to give away basketball as well. I lost my mom. That was a huge thing. So you talk about pivot. I couldn't take it no more. I tried to be involved in my role and as a general manager, sold all the sponsorship you could possibly sell. We're one of the wealthiest clubs in the country, and Wildcats are now the most successful club. I stayed for 6 months in that role with nothing to do with the team. And then I had an opportunity to leave and go to Hobart, Tasmania.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, I needed to change, and I went for it. It was another bottom team. I thought I could do the same thing there that I did at Perth. But as soon as I got off the plane, they sacked the general manager who hired me. and I didn't know a soul down there. And I struggled for 3 years trying to get the team up. Eventually, after the third year, I said, no, I couldn't. And my son had just made the Wildcats as a young player, 17 years old. And I was watching, I didn't get a chance to see it, but I watched the news. His very first shot was over the halfway, and it went straight in.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And everybody's calling me, telling me, oh, man, did you see CJ put that shot up? It went straight in, his first shot off the backboard. And I'm going, really? I had to wait for the ABC News to come and then watch it. And then I called him up, and he acted all nonchalant about it, like, oh, yeah, I made my first shot. Until I saw, like, what? And then, of course, I said, no, your grandmother put that one in. So I went back to watch him take on his career and support him there. And then at the end of the year, he didn't want to be there either. He wanted to go to the U.S. to take his skills there. So I coordinated that. And, of course, I couldn't get a job working with the Wildcats anymore because I was sort of on the outer. I went and jumped on a postie bike and delivered the mail. Now, I don't know how many championship coaches of a national program would actually take on a role like that, but I felt it was something that I needed to do to show that I was prepared to look after my family no matter what the job may encase. That's where the pride suitcase comes in. I remember learning, I've never ridden a motorcycle before. Now I'm on that little 250 postie bike, whoa, And of course, some kids recognize me. And when I go back for the next drop of the mail, they out there with a glass of iced tea. And then next time I come, they got their basketball and a few kids on the block. Oh, would you like to take a shot? And next thing you know, I'm out there playing full-on games and behind in my route. So I got to give the mail to the kids and say, on their bike, could you deliver it? I got to go to the next suburb.
It's so good to have Cal Bruton, a famous basketballer. Obviously, he's done a lot of great things with the basketball, but also in the community here on 98.9 Northwest FM. It's Community Heart Radio. We're coming to the end of the show, but Cal, can you give us a little bit of a case study, a little bit of a story of a young person's life that you've been involved with through your work at AFL Sports Ready, where you've sort of, seen a big turnaround, and what was sort of the main thing that you think helped that young kid?
I have a young lady actually, Chloe Stevenson. She's a beautiful young girl. We worked. I went and was able to sell the opportunity to the Australian Research Council, which is my partner worked with them. I told her that I'm involved with this program. They had never had any Indigenous people work in their program before, in their agency. So I said, well, here's a chance to actually groom these kids in that program, and we'll recruit them. We also basically interview them, tell them what the job entails, and then we'll hand them over to you to interview, and then you can take them on board. Well, in their first lot, they took 6 of them on. Wow. And this one young lady named Chloe, she was young. She had some challenges early, and trying to adjust to the work and being on time and everything. But Australian Research Council treat these kids with so much care. And so AFL Sports Ready provide the mentor and the educator. So they were in good hands. Anyway, she struggled a little bit. And then we had to go through a whole series of things to get her up to scratch. Long story short, she then went on to not only succeed at the job, and it was over a 2-year period, she was in the runnings for Trainee of the Year around the country. And after succeeding and getting the Trainee of New South Wales, she then went on to get a full-time role with the Australian Research Council. So we're all excited about it, and she stayed in touch. And when I received my baton for the relays for the Commonwealth Games, she was right there at my side and recognizing me. And then she told me, she said, I think I want to challenge myself. I want to be a manager for an Aboriginal organization. And I thought, I mean, wow. You're going to leave the Australian Research Council? She said, yeah, because, I've just bought a home for my grandmother and I. and I just about melt. You know, she bought a home. She's now looking at care for her grandmother, and she took the punt to move on to this project manager position, which happens to be a gentleman who I sold a car to from Howdy. And he called me up. He said, "Man, thank you for training up Chloe." And I didn't have anything to do with the training. I just kind of put her in a position, but she's wonderful. She's now excelling at this project manager's job. She's looking after what she always wanted to do. And she's gorgeous and smart. And I'm just like, when I see her, I'm so proud. I just, you know, it lights me up inside. And I have another kid who's gone on to do great things in the basketball environment. His name was Manuel DeCrest, and he's over in Western Australia. And he's been a young kid that I took on board here in Canberra, took him to the U.S. with us so he could play against Magic Johnson. His eyes was this big. And when he came back, he struggled a little bit because he was in a car accident. So he got you know, his basketball career didn't take off the way it should have, but he's gone back to Western Australia with his family and continued to give back to the other young kids. Now he has a little nephew coming through who we're now looking after now. So it's all about a chain reaction. If you know, hey, I always say attitudes are contagious. Is yours worth catching? And I try to display this attitude to those kids that, yes, it is worth catching. You catch it, and then you go pass it on to someone else and try to get the chain going. So you try to create opportunities to help other people succeed.
So obviously that really fit into that passion of yours, Cal. You know, I was about to ask you, what do you think really, really helped them to, you know, to motivate them and throughout their journey?
I think it's the love for what you do. You know, if you, like you guys, I'm sure you wouldn't be doing this if you didn't love it. And when you love something so much, you don't call it work. You know, it's the pride, it's the passion, you know. So I get a real joy out of seeing young kids succeed. I work across all nationalities. My house is sometimes full of Sudanese kids. So my son brings them over. I live at Costco trying to bring food in so we can feed them and things like that. As I said, I'm in the Aboriginal communities. I got a lot of young Australian kids, European kids that come to our home. So we're a multicultural family, and we really I try to use my sons to do the same now. My son, Austin in Perth, he now works for an organization called APM, and he goes out and finds jobs and get these young kids on their career pathways as a representative in Western Australia. And he's got hundreds of kids jobs, and they're praising him now for doing the same thing. He goes above and beyond. And of course, I mentioned CJ, but my son Elliot works with the PCYC in Tiree, New South Wales. And he's working with the indigenous kids. He took them to New Zealand a couple of years ago, a group. So they can see a different world. My daughter, she's just graduating from Australian Catholic University, and she majored in social work. And she has her own business, babysitting business, and now she's in the child care, and she's now exploring that world for her. And like I said, I got my two younger sons here. I'm trying to get them on the way so I can have some peace. You know?
There's no doubt, Cal, you've got a great heart. And Del Tate said, thank you, Cal, for the inspirational sharing your stories and techniques. It's very encouraging. And Julio, we've had a lot of guests on the show, but I tell you what, he's a very inspirational man, this Cal Bruton, isn't he?
He is very inspirational. So he had a great career and also a great life by the sounds of things. You've really grabbed life by its head and just taken a big ride with it. It's been really good what you've done.
Thank you, Julio. You know, I think it's all about being a good person, you know, at the end of the day, and family first. You know, if you can look after your family and you can do things that you enjoy doing and keep them all together. You know, it's difficult when you're not, you know, sometimes, again, it's not like I'm far from perfect. I'll be honest like that. I got 2 ex-wives and that sort of thing. But at the same time, I try to keep them involved with my kids, and I try to stay involved with them. And when we come together, we all come together as a group. So, you know, when I see the pride in my kids' faces for them to go on and achieve great things, I think that's what it's all about. So, you know, when you actually I said those 4-letter words. When you actually give, work, care, I think you can do just about anything you want to do. So with my foundation, I really want to put that in a space where we can look after kids from around the country and create these pathways and opportunities for them to have a better life. And once you do that, then again, you don't have to worry about, it's always going to come back to you tenfold, but you never know when, you know.
Exactly.
And I received the OAM recently, this past January, for my work with basketball as a player and a coach. The furthest thing from my mind, never expected it. And when they called me up and told me that, you know, I've been honored by the Governor General and I got to keep it a hush hush. I didn't know what to do. I can't keep this quiet, but it was the greatest honor to go into Governor's house, with my family, and have them be a part of me receiving that award. I just, you know, I had some tears, you know, and now I can use, if you like, to show that, yeah, if you do the right thing, it comes back to you. You just never know when, you know. So that's pretty much my philosophy.
Well, Cal, it's been so good having you on the show, and unfortunately our time's gone. It's been really quick, but it's been fantastic hearing your story and your impact you make in the community. Cal, last comments from you?
No, I'd just like to thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, just be not you, but Kelly. Kelly,
Kelly.
Last comments from you.
Got 2 Cals.
I love it when I'm like looking at your. No, I think it's I think it's great when you have such a vision and a purpose, and you know, you talk about a lot of your different experience and what you brought to the community. I think it's fantastic. And I think we all need role models such as yourself, no matter what life stage we're at, you know, no matter that we keep listening to people and watching people like yourself. So thank you so much for sharing all your stories and your journeys.
Oh, my pleasure.
And
Thank you.
Julio, your final sort of comments.
Oh, the only comment I got back is to pack your pride suitcase and enjoy your time. Yes.
And Cal Bruton, you know, OAM, fantastic, mate. It's just fantastic. Works with AFL Sports Ready, doing basketball clinics. You've got your own foundation. You're doing amazing things. What would be your final comment that you want to give to our listeners tonight?
Oh, wow. Final comment would be, you know, appreciate where you at. You know, this just where you at the moment. Appreciate the good things around you, like smell the roses, because, you know, during these challenging times, you have to look on the bright side, you know, and always look to lend a helping hand if you can, you know, because I think that giving will always help open your heart. And if you're a part of your community, it's going to make the community better. So to give is to receive in abundance. And I'm all about the love factor. You know, I wish I could, you know, sort of use the term, you know, I got a big jumper that I wear sometimes. It just got love written on it in rainbow colors. So be kind and love, you know, love your fellow citizens and your community, and try to do the right thing. And if you do that, you're going to make the world a better place.
Yeah. Fantastic, mate. It's been great having you on Community Heart Radio. Thanks, Coolio. Thanks, Kelly, for tonight's show. It's just been really, really good. And thanks for listening, everybody. And yeah, we'll see you next week. Hey,
Too good.
And that's